and welcome to Square's one and only radio station. I'm your host. Today is Wednesday, June 27th, 2018, and we are in Taos, New Mexico with a high of 100 and a low of 59. There will be no rain today. For the very first time, we have a request from the boss himself, so let's get to the show. Flying for the first time was terrifying. When you take your first steps, there is the high likelihood that you will fall. As he flapped his wings for the first time, he knew that if he fell, there was no second chance, only the cold waters below. His fear caused his flight to dip lower and lower until he felt the cold spray from the sea below. He remembered his father's words that the spray would wet his wings and steal his ability to fly. So, not wanting to be dragged into the cold waves, he frantically flapped his wings to get higher up. As he climbed into the sky, he felt the sun warm his skin. He hadn't realized how cold he was from flying so close to the sea below. He flew higher, closing his eyes for a moment to bask in the sun's gentle warmth. When he opened his eyes, he could see he was now flying high above the sea. He was doing it. He was flying. The sun on his skin washed away all of his remaining fears. He was flying, and he was good at it. He was no longer bound to the ground. He grew bolder and flew higher up so that he could try doing flips and dives. His first couple of flips caused him to drop his altitude. He simply flew back up to try again. Soon, he had it down. And as he whooped with joy, he continued to fly higher and higher. He stopped and glided for a moment to catch his breath as he continued to laugh at the thrill of flight. Looking down, the sea was now so far away, but looking up, the sky felt infinite. Just how high could he fly? Could he fly higher than the sun? He began to fly higher and higher. The strain of flapping his wings did little to deter him from his goal. The sun continued to warm his skin like he was sitting too close to the fireplace. He stared into the vast sky, that brilliant blue. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a fluffy white snowflake, and then another. He grinned at the thought of being the only person in the world to see these snowflakes. He looked back at the clear sky. The sky was clear. Wax dripped down onto his arm. He looked down at the snowflakes, but he didn't see snow. He saw feathers. He saw melting wax. He saw wings that could no longer hold his weight. He saw that he was falling. The wind stung his face as he frantically flapped the wings his father had made for him, but there were no wings left to flap. The wax had melted away. The carefully arranged feathers were an unrecognizable mess. As he fell, Icarus remembered his father's other words of warning. Don't fly too high, or the wax would melt. He hit the water, and the water greeted him like a stone floor. A note from the boss. I apologize to the bookstore owner for the fact that the entirety of your note was not read on air, but it was deemed too vulgar for our host to continue reading it. I did read the whole note, so don't worry, your message was received. Now, my dear bookstore owner, I understand that you're upset by your stay here, though let me remind you that you chose to stay here, but you cannot air these grievances on the radio show. Guests, listen to this. This is your first warning. I hope I don't have to escalate this further. Let's move on with some background on Oedipus. His father was Polybus, king of Corinth. His mother was Merope. In Corinth, he grew up to be a highly respected man. One night, at a dinner party, a very drunk man got into an argument with Oedipus. This man began yelling insults at him, but the one that stuck with Oedipus was a remark that he was not even Polybus's real son. Oedipus tried to move on, but the man's words kept nagging at him. After a couple of days, Oedipus couldn't keep it to himself anymore, so he asked his parents about it. They were furious that the man dared to insult their son like that, and reassured Oedipus that he was indeed really their son. Oedipus was relieved to hear this, but the rest of the city began hearing the rumor about Oedipus. Eventually, Oedipus decided that he was going to get answers from Apollo himself and quash these rumors. Oedipus slipped out of the city without telling anyone and made his way to Apollo's shrine. At the shrine, though, instead of getting the answers he sought, he was told he would defile his mother's bed and murder his father. This horrified Oedipus, and so he ran from Corinth. He traveled to many other lands in an attempt to avoid the prophecy he had received. During his travels, he came upon an intersection between 3 roads. As he walked the road, a horse-drawn carriage approached, with a herald at the front. Before Oedipus could move out of the way, the herald grabbed his shoulders and threw him to the ground beside the road. This infuriated Oedipus. When he got up, he shoved the herald back, but as the carriage passed the 2, the man riding in the carriage hit Oedipus on the top of the head with a whip. Oedipus turned to the man in the carriage and swung his staff in retaliation. The hit landed, cracking the man's head back as he toppled to the ground dead. Oedipus, blinded by his rage, killed the rest of the entourage. Oedipus looked to his wife as she finished telling the story of the man he had killed. "If this man was the king, I was the one who cursed these lands. If I leave this city, though, it's not like I can return home. I would then marry my mother and kill the father who raised me. I would rather die before seeing that come true." Oedipus took Jocasta's hands into his. "I do have one last hope. That's why I must hear from the servant that witnessed the murder." Jocasta looked lost as she tried to wrap her head around Oedipus' story. "What do you hope to hear?" "If his story matches the one you told me, I'll know that I'm innocent." "What was so important about what I said?" "You said that the man witnessed King Laos be murdered by a band of thieves. If that is true, it couldn't have been me, because I was alone. Though if it was a single man, then I fear I'm the one responsible for all this." "He definitely said it was a group of people. He can't just take back that claim. Besides, even if it does, that doesn't prove the prophecy true. After all, it was said that Laos would be killed by his own son, and a dead infant can't kill anyone." You're right about that, but send for the witness anyways. I need to be sure." "I'll call him right away." Before we continue this story, some of you might be wondering, how did Oedipus even become king of Thebes? In previous broadcasts, it was mentioned that Oedipus had defeated a sphinx that was terrorizing Thebes. Now this sphinx would ask anyone trying to pass her a riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? If you answered wrong, the sphinx would eat you. Many died to the sphinx till Oedipus came upon her. He said the answer was man. The sphinx was so distraught that someone had answered her riddle correctly, she threw herself off a cliff. The city of Thebes was so grateful that Oedipus was offered the throne and Jocasta's hand in marriage. Returning to the story. Jocasta emerged from the palace with incense, garland, and a pair of servants. She had something to do before fetching the witness for Oedipus. She went to the altar for Apollo that stood by the entrance to the palace, whereupon she placed the incense and garland as an offering to the god. "Apollo, I come to you with these offerings and a humble request. Oedipus has allowed his mind to be clouded by fear, and my advice has done nothing to help him. Please find a way of cleansing us from what corrupts us." As Jocasta prayed, an older man, a messenger, approached one of the servants. "Excuse me, can you tell me where I can find your king's home, or even where I can find the king himself if you're able?" "This is his home. You'll find him inside." The servant gestured to the palace and then gestured to Jocasta as she finished her prayer. "This is his wife." "Oh, may her happy home be blessed, for she is his queen, true mistress of the house." As the messenger turned to speak with the queen. "The same to you, stranger. Tell us, why have you come?" Jocasta replied. "My lady, I have good news for you and your husband." "What news? Where does this news come from?" "I've come from Corinth, and though the news is good, it may also be saddening." "How can it be good and sad? What is this news?" "The people of Corinth and the surrounding lands have announced that they will make Oedipus their king." "What? Is Oedipus no longer king?" "No, he passed away." "Oedipus's father is dead?" "Yes, my lady." Jocasta turned to one of her servants. "Go, get Oedipus at once." As the servant entered the palace, Jocasta sighed with relief. "Oh, he no longer has to fear killing his father." Oedipus emerged from the palace looking at the messenger, slightly alarmed. "Jocasta, why have you summoned me?" "Listen to this man and tell me if you still believe in those ridiculous prophecies." His wife smiled at him. "Who is this? What does he have to say?" "He comes from Corinth with news of your father Polybus's death." Is this true? Yes, Oedipus has passed away, the messenger explained. How? He succumbed to sickness due to his old age. My dear wife, those prophecies were useless. My father didn't die by my hand. Didn't I say that was the case? Yes, but I was scared. You can't live in fear of such silly things. What about my mother? I'm still scared of that prophecy. Why should a man whose life seems ruled by chance live in fear of so-called prophecy? It's better just to ignore it. You're right. I shouldn't let this worry me so much. At least your father's death has disproved that prophecy. Yes, but I'm still too scared to go see her. This woman you fear, who is she? The messenger interrupted their discussion. Myrrh, Polybus's wife. Why does she scare you so much? There was a dreadful prophecy sent from Apollo. Is it well known, or is this a private matter? No, it's public knowledge. Apollo once said it was my fate to marry my own mother and shed my father's blood with my own hands. That's why I left my home in Corinth. And because you were afraid of her, you stayed away from Corinth? And because I didn't want to kill my father? My lord, why don't I relieve you of this fear? I would be grateful. After all, it would be good for you to return home. But I will never go back to see my parents. Did they really not tell you? What do you mean? In the name of the gods, tell me. Are you aware these fears of yours are groundless? And why is that? Because you and Oedipus were not related. What? He wasn't my father, but he called me his son. He received you many years ago as a gift. I gave you to him. He had no children of his own, so you were his chance of having a son. Where did you even get me from? I found you in Cithron's Forest Valley. What were you doing wandering up there? I was looking after a flock of sheep. You were a shepherd? Yes, I was the one who saved you. Saved me? From what? Well, your ankles can tell you that. My scars? Your ankles were pierced through and tied together. I was the one who set you free. Why would my birth parents do such a thing? I do not know. You would have to ask the man who gave you to me. Wait, someone gave me to you. You didn't just find me. Another shepherd gave you to me. Who is he? Do you know anything about him? Well, I think people said he was one of Laos' servants. You mean King Laos? Yeah, that's right. He was one of the king's shepherds. Oedipus turned to one of the servants. Do you know the shepherd he's talking about? Yes, he's the man you wanted Jocasta to summon. She should know who he is, the servant answered. Jocasta, is this true? Do you know this shepherd? Oedipus looked at his wife, only to find she had gone pale. Why are you asking me? Forget all that. It's not important. When I am so close to knowing the truth about my birth, I can't stop now. In the name of the gods, stop. Do not keep investigating this. We will only suffer. Don't worry. Even if I find out I'm from a family of third-generation slaves, you will still have your noble lineage. Listen to me, I beg you. Do not do this. Nonsense. I should learn the truth. Oh, you sad man. May you never find out who you really are. Oedipus turned again to the servant. Go and bring that shepherd here. You poor, miserable man. I'll never speak to you again. Jocasta ran off into the palace. That's where we'll leave the story today. Everyone's getting close to putting all the pieces together, huh? Well, we'll reach our conclusion in the next broadcast. Until then, you'll hear from me again yesterday, today, tomorrow, and the rest of your lives. Goodbye!